somebody on your side. So that's sort of backdrop to where I think we are in terms of the issues. Cuts, threat of privatisation, police are demoralised, a government that's almost I think wants the police to react in a negative way so that it can turn around and say to the public, there, we told you they're not that special, let's do something very different. We have to fight that, and that's what we're trying to do with this campaign. And sort of for you, for your role, what you can do about it is just get more involved in the campaign as it's developing. One of the easiest ways is just to go out with the anti-cuts petition. We have a petition. It's been on show all over West Mercia so far. I think the best one I had so far was down in Hereford, where, maybe not the most prime Labour territory, Hereford these days. I thought I'd taken more than enough petitions to have about an hour and a half. There were 6 of us going to do some petitioning on the streets. We'd finished in 40 minutes. All the petition forms were filled up, and people were literally queuing up. There were queues of people waiting to sign. So just get the petition out. Get it into Shrewsbury. Get it there every Saturday if you can. Get it, if you could get the petition out 4 or 6 or 8 Saturdays between now and election day, that'd be brilliant, because people will sign it. Everybody who goes on there and signs it is a potential contact for us, because they'll go on the Labour Party system contact creator, and we'll chase after them. Public meetings. I am very, very happy to talk to any audience at any time in any place about this election and why it's important. But it'd be really good if we could get some proper hustings meetings organised where I could get the Conservative candidate up here with me as well. So I can say to him, do you believe in the cuts? Will you privatise? What do you think about this change in the conditions that police have? So, if you can help with getting those sorts of meetings organised, it could be colleges, it could be places of work, just wherever, I think that's going to be very helpful. And then there'll be a couple of very specific jobs in the election campaign that we'll need a lot of help with. One is delivering an election communication to every single postal voter. Now, we're not going to have an awful lot of money for this particular campaign, but one of the key target audiences of voters that we've got are postal voters. We had local elections in Worcestershire in May just gone. On election day it was blooming horrible, and we had about 28% of the vote turned out on local election day. But of the postal voters, nearly 70% of them voted. So you imagine a situation where it's dark, it's snowing, the police are advising people to stay at home and not go out and vote because it's the middle of the winter. It's the postal voters who will vote. So we will need, before they get their ballot papers, to get an election communication out to all those postal voters wherever they are, and that will take a lot of legwork and a lot of effort. So there are things for people to actually do to help with the campaign in terms of petitioning, public meetings. There'll be the normal party activities that are going on. There'll be by-elections, where we can actually go out and try and get the contact up with voters, and there'll be that postal vote delivery as well. But can we win? Yeah, of course we can win. I think we're sort of in the foothills here at the moment of a campaign that's like climbing a mountain. But I've seen it done in this area before, and 1 or 2 people in this room have too. Back in 1994, when we had a European election, a friend of mine, David Hallam, was elected for a constituency which is almost identical to this one. So it was Herefordshire and Shropshire, Telford and Wrekin, with Wyre Forest, Kidderminster in it. This patch that I'm fighting has got Worcester and Redditch and 1 or 2 other bits of Worcestershire in it as well. But David Hallam won that election on a first past the post election. This is supplementary vote. It's the London Mayor system. Everybody gets 2 votes. So you vote once, and if you want to, you can vote for a second preference. And if one candidate doesn't get 50% of the vote plus 1 on the first round, then all the second preferences are reallocated amongst the top 2 candidates. 2 top candidates go forward. So, would I be standing here if I thought we had no chance of winning the election? Of course I would. We've got to have a Labour campaign, we've got to fight it, and we've got to fight it well. But I genuinely think it's a possibility that we can win this. Can you imagine the signal that would send back to David Cameron and to Nick Clegg, but to all those Conservative backbenchers who'd be really worried about their seat? And even if we don't win, our job here is to get as many Labour votes out as we can, to help the chances of winning Shrewsbury and Atcham at the next general election, to help in Redditch, to help in Worcester, where we've got parliamentary candidates selected already, but if nothing else, to make sure that when all the votes are counted across all the 41 police force areas that will be electing police and crime commissioners on the 15th of November, we have played our part as West Mercia in winning a national election. Because that's very important. I want Ed Miliband or Yvette Cooper, or whoever it is fronting up for the party after these elections, to be able to say, look Jeremy, we've won a national election. Labour came first. We had the biggest percentage of the vote. We had the highest number of votes cast. That's very important. But I do think there's a chance of winning. I really do. On Monday of this week, I was with work in Wales, in South Wales, in the wonderfully named Tonopandi, a town at the heads of the valleys. And I was with the chief executive of Rhondda Cynon Taf Council. And we were in his office on the edge of Tonopandi, looking at the hills, which basically were where the pits were. And we were just talking about the mines and how the miners strike and what had happened with Mrs. Thatcher. And there was almost a wistfulness about how the communities had changed. And what radicalised me as a young person, I was a member of the Labour Party when the miners' strike started, but what really radicalised me was what was happening in society at that stage, where a government was actually saying to whole communities, you have no value, you do not matter, what you've done economically for us doesn't count anymore. And I can still remember that there was a Welsh, I wasn't very great Welsh speaker, I was at Aberystwyth University. Cefnogi'r Flower apparently is support the miners in Welsh. I learnt it. And I stood outside the Students' Union week after week collecting money for the miners of Mardy. And that's what radicalised me. That's what got me really passionate about politics. It was very visible. You could see the strike. You could see the conflict. You could see what was going on. What's happening now with the welfare changes that I mentioned right at the very beginning is not visible. It's pernicious. It's something that's going to affect society really, really deeply. Mrs. Thatcher, whatever you think of her, her place in history is assured. She was a radical conservative leader. David Cameron doesn't come across quite like Mrs. Thatcher, but believe you me, he is a radical conservative. And what he is doing is starting to unpick the very fabric of the society that we've got around us at the moment. So, while the election on the 15th of November is about getting a Labour Police and Crime Commissioner candidate elected here for West Mercia, I think it's about an awful lot more. It's about getting people in Shrewsbury, getting people in Shropshire to vote against a government that's shrinking the state, against a government that is ready to privatise just about any public service it can get away with, and to get people to vote against a government that is picking on the most vulnerable in society in ways that we can't see at the moment, because the effect on those people's lives will be devastating. So, what I need from you is your support, your commitment, but also your belief that this is a battle worth fighting. Because while it may be about a police and crime commission election, to me it's about an awful lot more than that. So, thank you very much.